Everybody take your manhood. Be proud of our heritage. They made everything black, ugly, and evil. Look in your dictionary and see the synonyms of the word black. But I want to get the language right tonight.
I had a dream, black folks wouldn't feed for esteem for white folks regime and cream that's lean and watered down. Cause we in quarantine, don't mean we corner now. Ray came the king, the vaccine for your boredom now. Recorded sounds with my voice is awarded now. Fuck Grammys, got my love from the underground. 2 ovations, I take a formal bow, but no normal crowns for this immortal.
What up, though? Wealthy Thoughts, episode 6. We are back again. How y'all doing out there? How you doing, Tracy?
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing good, doing great. So you were saying something about the Lions, right?
So, of course, folks know I'm in Detroit. The Lions won their last game.
They did.
But did not make it to playoffs. And
Yeah.
I'm like, help me understand. I do not understand why, there's no playoff berth for us.
Seattle held the tiebreaker against the Lions.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. So even though they had the same record, Seattle had the tiebreaker. So the Lions needed Seattle to lose, I believe. So that the Lions needed Seattle to lose, and Seattle won.
Yeah, and I heard that, and I was like, what?
Seattle won. Seattle was waiting on the Lions. Seattle needed the Lions to beat Green Bay for Seattle to get to the playoffs. Because Green Bay held the tiebreaker over Seattle.
Okay.
So basically, what was going to happen was if Seattle would have lost, then the Lions and Green Bay would have been fighting for the last position, and if the Lions would have won, they would have been in.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's that was what it was. That's my synopsis that I can give you. I don't watch NFL football as much as I used to, so. The Lions, of course, because it's the home team, is, if I'm watching it, that's what I'll be rooting for. But very rarely watch NFL football unless I'm most times when I get a chance to watch it, I'm at the station when everybody else watching it at the station.
Yeah. Okay. I was trying to understand that whole deal, and I was like, okay, that kind of changes how I feel about watching the Super Bowl. Although it doesn't really, I guess, depending on who's playing in the Super Bowl, I pick a team and root for that team.
Gotcha.
And that's typically how we do it. And, of course, we like Super Bowl is all about the food anyway, and the halftime show.
Yeah, that's basically.
Which this year is Rihanna, so everybody is like super excited.
Yeah.
About that, and like everybody else, I'm excited to see her perform. Excited to see someone of color, having the soul stage at the halftime show. So I'm really excited for her. Just excited for her in general. We talk a lot about entrepreneurs and starting your own business and wealthy thoughts and success, and she epitomizes that.
Yes. Yes, she does. I mean, that whole little Rockefeller Rock Nation crew is like ridiculous. But
really,
because of course, Jay-Z and Beyonce are billionaires. Kanye was a billionaire until he lost his damn mind. LeBron is part of that Rock Nation crew, and he is a billionaire.
Are you talking about LeBron James?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, LeBron James is a certified billionaire.
Okay.
At least, well, maybe he's not a certified billionaire. Maybe he's made $1 billion over his career, but maybe he's not a billionaire yet. But he'll be one soon if he's not. And so you got that whole, and then of course Rihanna. You got that whole crew, but there's an old saying that if you take the 5 closest friends that you have that you hang out with,
talked about that.
You take those people and you take the average of their income. That's probably what you about what you making.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
I guess that's true for them.
Yeah, your net worth equals your network.
That is a very interesting thought.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that I need to really take a look at, for 2023 and
I,
evaluate the network.
I can definitely say that I have about 2 or 3 people that I talk to that I'm friends with that are actually close to millionaire, if not millionaires,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
they make 6 figures. And it wasn't long after I started really conversating with them that I reached that mark myself.
Hmm.
I mean, I think it may have been 2 or 3 years at the most
Wow.
that I was able to get to that mark myself.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I worked hard to get there. Don't get me wrong. I might have worked a little bit harder than what they may have worked.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
just being around them, talking to them, gleaning ideas from them
Mm-hmm.
is, what is what kind of helped me get to a point of thinking differently, thinking out the box, and figuring things out. So I'm a firm believer your net worth is closely related to your network.
Hmm.
So when Steve Harvey says that if you're the smartest person in the room, you need to, you're the smartest person in the room,
Level up.
you need to get another friend. You need to get more friends.
Wow.
So
That brings up a very interesting question.
mm-hmm.
How do you access those folks? How do you access and how do you level up?
Okay, that brings up a very interesting question. So I want you, because I just told my home girl that has a coaching business and hopefully one day I'll have her on here. But she has a coaching business for females.
Okay.
That's what she focuses on.
Okay.
And so I was telling her about a book that I'm reading, and the book is called "We Should All Be Millionaires." And
Okay.
and and then it's written by a woman, but the subtitle of the book is "A Woman's Guide to Something." A woman's guide, basically a woman's guide to becoming a millionaire. So
Okay.
the book is focused on women.
Okay.
You would say, why am I reading it? Because
Mm-hmm.
the first title is "We Should All Be Millionaires."
Mm-hmm.
I saw that she was focused on women, but somewhere in my head, I'm like, I could definitely glean.
There's something here of value for me.
Yeah. So some of the and so I just got finished with the chapter where she was talking about network and net worth and building up your network. And some of the ideas that she gave was finding different things to get into.
Okay.
So like,
and what's the name of this book again?
it is called "We Should All Be Millionaires."
Mm-hmm.
And then her name is, I believe, Rachel Rogers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna look it up for you real quick because I'm listening to the book. I'm not actually. It's an audio that I'm listening to. So it's called, to give you the full name of it, and so you can have that.
Revenue generating offers.
Oh, you heard that. So hold on real quick. So it's called "We Should All Be Millionaires: A Woman Guide to Earning More Money." And it's a couple other things that's in there. So her name is Rachel Rogers, African American female, Black female. She was a lawyer, and so she talks about different things. First few chapters is about basically changing your mindset altogether. That's the one thing she talks about.
And you've talked about that in your book.
Yeah, basically on think success type stuff. She was on that type of stuff, changing mindset. And then she goes into different things that you can do to help change your mindset too. And one of them was changing your network. And so and so she was saying, she gave one example of a young lady that every year she does an annual cleanse. And so she goes through her list of friends and finds out who is actually helping her, who's benefiting her, who's not benefiting her. And the ones that's not benefiting her, she basically removes them out of her life. She don't call them anymore. You know, I'm quite sure if they call her, she may answer, but she don't go out of her way to try to have that, because if it doesn't, if the person not, if they're not benefiting each other, and she feels like she's giving more to the relationship than that person is, she moves on. And the funny thing about the book was that, I mean, the fun thing about her talking about that lady was that the lady said, the lady was like, and at the end of this year, I'm gonna be evaluating my boyfriend because he might be the next person on the chopping block. And so, you know, so
Wow.
she was very adamant and purposeful about doing that every year. Um, the other thing she talked about was finding different things that you might have hobbies in, like bowling, for instance. If you like to bowl, that's a network of people that you can hang with. She was saying that if you are a working mom, you can find groups of working moms to hang with. And then she was saying if you are a business person, you can find business people to hang with. Another thing she brought up is Toastmasters. You ever heard of Toastmasters?
I have.
So we talked about Toastmasters, and if you are trying to get into public speaking, go hang around those people, because that's where you'll, you know, own your gift of public speaking. So she talked about a lot of different stuff, different things you can get in that book. But it was interesting. It's interesting that we brought this up, and I just literally just got finished listening to that when I was at the gym earlier today.
Yeah, I am literally writing this down, taking notes. But I think that that's fascinating, and I asked that question because I'm sure that we have some listeners to the podcast that want to make some of those moves, or interested in making some of those moves, and need to understand practically, how do I do that? Like, who should I be reaching out to? Who is a good person? What types of characteristics do I need to look for when I'm identifying people that are of interest to add to my network, if I'm expanding my network? And by that same token, how you decide who to purge? You know, you might have some folks, some day ones in there, some, you know, people that you know, been hanging with, family members.
So on another note, it was again, I guess this was a day of network. So I need to take note of that myself. That not you're talking about this. I just thought about something else I listened to earlier today too. This was just on Instagram, but it was a person talking about purging people, and she was like, you know, you can't purge everybody, because she said there are some day ones that was there that, yes, your mind frame may not be in the same place anymore, but that person was there when you needed somebody to pick your kids up, and that person picked the kids up for you, and that person was there when you needed some food to eat, and they could feed you and your kids and stuff like that. So she was bringing up, she was like, yes, our mindsets are different now because I'm doing something totally different, but I can't just get rid of that person because that person was there for me, and that person is still a person that will be there for me when all else fails. So I do think that purging has to be more than just because a person's mindset, you know, just because you and that person ain't on the same thing anymore. You might be trying to build a business and that person is not doing that, and they're still kind of stuck in a certain mind frame or whatever that you have moved from. Doesn't mean that that person doesn't still is not valuable to your life.
Right.
And so when you're talking about purging, I think purging, to me, this is just me, my humble opinion, it just means purging. It's purging people that, you know,
Drain you.
that drain
This about that energy. Let's just speak truth.
They drain your energy.
Yep.
They are you know, and then the other thing that we got to be cognizant of is not just that they drain your energy. Are you draining their energy? Because sometimes we are around people, and because we're getting better, or because we think we're getting better, or whatever it is, we're not helping them to get better either.
So 2 things come to mind. One is that just adding on, not only draining energy, but also draining your resources. You know, if you find, or if you see that time spent, conversation, energy, whatever, seems to be a drain of your energy.
Yeah.
Physically, emotionally, spiritually, taking too much of your time, your money, your talent, then I think it's time to reassess.
Yeah,
Not
time
necessarily
for me
purging.
is the most important thing. Time. If
Mhm.
you taking my time, I can make money back. I can get that back. I can't get this time
Right,
back.
right,
And
right.
so when
Mhm,
especially just having a birthday just passed and just hitting another year, chapter
mhm.
46, I don't have time.
Wait, which chapter? No, I'm just
Chapter
kidding.
46. I don't have time.
Forever 24.
I do not have time to play around. So if you
Yeah.
wasting my time, I
Mhm.
that really I'll be out. That'll and I don't want to waste nobody else's time either. So
Right,
I feel like I'm wasting your time too.
right.
I try to be very
Mhm,
I try to be very introspective about
mhm,
what I got going on um before I do anything because
mhm,
a lot of times, like I said, a person you may be you may not be good for the person that's around you too. The
mhm.
people that some people may just need to you may need to remove yourself from some people's life because you're not good for them.
Right. And so that kind of led into my second comment when you were talking about helping them.
Hmm.
And so I guess, yeah, one component of that would be, are you, do you have something of value that would help them?
Hmm.
Or are you more of a hindrance? And like you said, kind of need to remove yourself from that equation. But also, you can only help folks if they are interested in being helped
Correct.
and what you have to offer. So I think that's the other thing that folks need to evaluate. Um, and I'm sure being in a line of work that you're in, part of your training is about, when you're going in to save someone or assist someone, that person's like, yeah, save me, versus someone's like, no, no, leave me, I gotta get my cat, my dog, now a child, another human being, of course, totally understand, but or something,
Hmm.
and they're fighting you. Is that a situation that you've ever been in or encountered, or is that something that you guys talk about as part of your training when being a fighter?
Uh, well, um, risk. You risk a lot to save a lot. You risk a little to save a little, right? So, your part of the training is if a lot is a human body, a human. So you risk a lot to save a lot. But if it's nothing, if you have come to the conclusion that there's nothing in there to be saved, you start risking less. So that means you may not need to be in the building necessarily if the building
Mhm.
like it's gonna be if it's gonna be too much of a problem,
Mhm.
someone may get hurt. But
Mhm.
if there's a life in there, then we go,
Mhm.
we do the best we can do to
Mhm.
save that life without
Mhm.
killing ourselves.
Right.
So you
And so
risk.
I guess, yeah, to parallel that to what we're talking about is, again, if it's a situation where um there's something that you can contribute of value, and that would be helpful,
Hmm.
and a resource to that person,
Yeah,
then give that your best effort.
yeah, and that's again that's introspect. Being introspective.
Hmm.
That's taking that annual accounting of yourself. And
Hmm.
I know I was talking to somebody and I was telling them near
Hmm.
the end of the year
Hmm.
normally around the beginning of December, probably for the last 5 years I've been doing this,
Hmm.
5 6 years. um I've been doing it more habitually. Before that, I don't think I ever really did it like that where I wrote it down. I
Hmm.
always was thinking about, okay, what I'm gonna do the next year and stuff like that. but
Hmm.
but maybe the last 5 or 6 years where I actually
Hmm.
wrote it down, wrote out what my plans are for the next year,
Hmm.
actually
Hmm.
you know, have a systematic way of starting to set goals for the next year. And I always try to do it I always do it in December. And I'm always normally done by December 31st. On December 31st, normally I'm just kind of going over it. And if there's something that need to be added, I could think of, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, and I think we've talked about that because one year, you had shared a couple goals and you're like, yeah, I got to get these in by, December 31st. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
So, but you got them,
Yeah. So I know one year I wanted to, it was something I wanted to do at work, and I didn't think I was going to make it. And they offered a class. They offered a class like the last, 2 weeks before Christmas. And it was like, oh, I got to get in that class, and I got in. You know what I'm saying? So this year, there's some things that I've been trying to get done, and professionally with my career, professionally with my real estate career, my fire career. All those things are important to me. So I try to, they're to me they're separate, but they're not, because it's all me doing it. And so, I'm a real estate agent. I'm a firefighter. I'm a father. I'm all those things. So, right. So you trying to, and then I'm my own person, and I want to do my own things too. So you have to figure out a way to write that down, goal oriented. And so a lot of times, going back to what we were talking about with purging people out of your life, it's like when you start writing those goals down and trying to figure that stuff out, I don't, for me, I'm not purging at the end of the year. I'm purging all year long. If I need to purge you, I'm out. I'm not going, there's no reason for us to keep doing that.
Dragging it on.
Yeah. There's no reason to keep playing, or me to keep playing with it. And that's not where if that's not going to get me to where I need to go. And for me, I'm more important. It's just it sounds selfish, but sometimes you have to be selfish. You have to think about yourself.
You have to be focused on yourself. Yeah, and I think again, I think it's very important, because like I said, for folks that are listening to us, they're listening to us because this information is valuable to them. They're looking to make change. They're looking to make improvements. They're looking to grow. We talk about wealthy thoughts, changing mindsets.
Yeah.
It's a process. And, for some folks, they're kind of like, I get it. And they have a plan. But for other folks, they need that push, that encouragement, and just, guidance, practical application about how do you put those things in place. And so that's why I asked that question about, how do you identify who needs to be part of your network? Where should you start hanging out, spending your time, versus where you have been spending your time?
You remember what was his name? Les Brown. Les Brown. Les Brown used to always say, he has friends that he just hang out with just to watch the game. Then he got friends that he hang out with for business. Then he got friends that he hang out with for other things, And so I think you have to have, everybody's not going to be somebody that you're going to have fun with. But those people that you're going to have fun with, they're probably the people that you'll be around for your business, help you grow your business and stuff like that. It's great if you can be around the people that's helping you grow your business and y'all can have fun. That's right. That's wonderful, but everybody's not that way.
Yeah.
I happen to from time to time to like quote unquote hood shit. So I mean, every now and then I'm gonna be around some hood shit. So
yeah,
I mean, but that's not necessarily good for business. You know what I'm saying? So if I'm trying to, unless those people, unless they thinking the same way I'm thinking, we're not necessarily talking about business. We're talking about hood shit. So
yeah, and I think that just kind of what I would just kind of interject there when you talk about, you know, the hood stuff and who we hang out with and who we spend our time with. Sadly, we see a lot of rappers, you know, doing their, you know, hood thing.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, I ain't talking about that type of hood shit.
Well, and that's so let's clarify,
let's clarify that. So, you know,
right.
From time to time, I'm gonna go to a club
with wisdom. You make smart decisions and not
you
risk.
have to make smart decisions, and you have to know. You have to look. You have to always be looking and see what's around you and see what's going on around you.
Absolutely.
The thing about me, I don't drink.
Right.
So I'm always cognizant of what's going on around me. Whereas a person that's drinking a lot of times, they may not be aware of the things that they seeing around them. That you get high. I don't smoke weed, so I'm not. You know, I may be around people that's doing it, but I'm always probably the one that's paying attention to what's going on around. And I'm like, hey, we need to move. Things ain't going the way we wanted them to go. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes, you know, I got my other thought about rappers. I think we shared that the last time that
we did talk a little bit about that.
I do think that some of the stuff that happens with rappers is orchestrated. That's just me, but a lot of it too is just hood shit, and it's just literally you got a bunch of rappers that really at the end of the day, the rappers that came from our generation, they really lived in the hood. A lot of these rappers didn't grow up in the hood like that. You know what I'm saying? Some of these rappers, you know, Migos, for instance, they grew up in Gwinnett. I'm not saying Gwinnett don't have parts of it that's less affluent than others, but I mean that's far and few in between. And even the less affluent houses is not the hood, not the hood in the way that me and you are used to the hood. So I don't think sometimes I think they very green when they out there hanging out and stuff
and do some things that are not take risks that they shouldn't be taking.
They shouldn't because they're so green. They don't even know the risk that they're taking.
Right.
You know, that's what I think sometimes. And you know, and then you got money, you know, you're thinking that, oh, I got bodyguards and stuff like that, and halftime the bodyguards ain't even as legit as they need to be. You know, to handle what's really going on. So yeah, I mean, the other night I was somewhere, you know, I'm probably, just to be honest with you, I probably was the oldest person in the room. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it was a club, it was a bunch of young cats, you know, and me and you know, probably was the oldest people in the room, you know what I'm saying? And you know, when I felt like it was getting out of control, I was like, well, it's time to go. You know, so you know, every now and then that happens.
I think. Do you think that when you know more, based on, you know, as you continue to level up, do you feel like there's less of a desire, that your desire changes?
Yeah, no doubt.
And it becomes commensurate with your level of growth and understanding.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, no doubt. I mean, I just think about it. You get older, you start making money, and you realize the risk, and you got kids, you realize that risk on that side. You don't want to not be there for your kids. So no doubt, you definitely always, to me, if you're thinking about it, yes, you start thinking of, you know, but a lot of those guys that we're talking about, those rappers that have passed away and passed on and were murdered or whatever, a lot of those guys were still in they like mid-20s, you know what I'm saying? So they haven't reached that point yet. You know, they still kids in the real scheme of life. You know, we're talking about the real scheme of things. They kids. You know, they not at a point, you know, you really, to be honest, it don't matter how much money you get. I've read a lot of books with people that's been millionaires since they was 18, 19, 20, you know what I'm saying? and I've read a lot of their books or listened to a lot of their little podcasts or YouTube channels, and the majority of them still say, yeah, I was a millionaire 18, 19, 20, but I didn't come into my own until I was in my 30s, getting close to 40. And so many of them will say that because they realize, like, yeah, I had the money, I could do certain things, but I still didn't know who I was. I just had money. And so that's cool. You want the money definitely helps, but it still sometimes takes you a minute to figure out who you are as a person. And you know, a lot of those guys, I can't think of his name right now, but he started $1 million business when he was like, by the time he was like 23, 24, he was a millionaire. And when he got to about 28, 29, 30, he was like, I don't even know. I got all this money, but I don't know what I'm really doing. You know what I'm saying? So he basically left his business and left some people to run it. And he went and traveled the world and went and sat with the monks for months, you know, and stuff like that, just trying to find himself, because he realized, like, I got this money, but I'm not living I'm still not living a full life, and I got all this money.
I see similar kind of, you know, behavior, thought patterns with professional athletes, you know, folks who, you know, get drafted into the NFL and the NBA, you know, kind of same thing, where all of a sudden they come into a lot of money, a lot of wealth. There's some people, you know, typically, you know, some young women sometimes that are with them day ones, that kind of stay with them and end up, you know, being with them as they make that transition. But same in that some of them, and this is not all, but some of them lack that kind of emotional maturity, spiritual maturity to make wise decisions, and can kind of get caught up, you know, in some situations or with some people, and you know, have some just kind of unfortunate things happen, you know, whether it's, you know, loss of wealth or income, they get injured, you know, they get cut, they get traded, and they don't have, like I said, the level of emotional or spiritual maturity to deal with those changes and those transitions, and you know, can throw tantrums and you know, just all kind of things.
I mean, you money answers a lot. The Bible is a verse in the Bible that said money answers all things. It answers questions for you, but at the end of the day, when you have it answers a lot of questions for you, but at the end of the day, it don't answer the main question of who are you, what you're here for. And so, especially a lot of times when you haven't been raised a certain way, or you have strayed away from the way you were raised, you just kind of you're lost. You might have this money, but you're lost. So the older I get, the more I don't want to do certain things. You know what I'm saying? Every now and then, I still want to go out and hang out at a club from time to time because it's fun. But you know, I would definitely, I'm definitely always watching, trying to see what's going on, making sure I'm good, make sure the people I'm around is good. And I come back home. I go hang out with some of the old fellas every blue moon. You know, I go hang out with some of the old fellas and see what's going on in the neighborhood. And then I'm out. You know, I'm not, you know, I never, when I was growing up, I was always, don't do dirt where you live at. So I never did real dirt around my neighborhood. I hung out most time on the east side. So
you're talking about Detroit.
Yeah, Detroit. So I moved, I'll go home. When I come home sometimes, I'll go over to the east side, check the fellas out, and they're still there. And up, and I keep it moving. But it ain't a lot of times, like I said, it's I come to Detroit a lot. So it's not it's not every time. Trust me. Because I mean we just in different
Right.
places. They in a different place, and I've been
Well,
around
and as we talked
a
about earlier,
different scene.
um, you have you understand the value of networking. So a lot of times those trips are connected to your specific network
Yeah.
that's tied to, the wealthy thoughts,
Yeah, and
wealthy thoughts, Randy.
most times when I'm coming home, I'm
Mhm.
you know I'm seeing the people that I want to see.
Mhm.
I'm taking care of business. Because
Mhm.
I, like I said, I'm looking at real estate, and then like I said, I'm gonna get my real estate license there also.
Mhm.
So I'm trying to take care of business when I'm there.
Mhm.
And so playing around, I'm there for a purpose typically.
Mhm.
I see who I'm gonna see, and those that I don't see,
Mhm.
the ones that I would normally see, like my
Mhm.
sister here, Tracy. I may not see you all the time, but
Yeah.
you know that I'm taking care of business and stuff.
Yeah. And
So
we talk. I mean, typically we talk. You call me and you say I'm in town, I'm taking care of XYZ, and
yes,
we have been able to connect,
yeah,
a
yeah,
couple
yeah,
times when you have come to town. But I also understand, you're trying to fit a lot in a short period of time.
yeah. So
And with your mom and your people here, I get it.
yeah, so I like you said, the older you get, the less
Mhm.
likely you are to do the things you used to do, especially
Mhm.
if you're really trying to grow.
Yeah.
Um, and I never wanted to stay the same. I think I don't know. We were having this conversation. I was having this conversation with somebody,
Mhm.
and we were talking. I was talking to somebody, and they were saying to me, "Yeah, but they help regular people, and blah blah blah." I was like, "Well, they don't. I don't want to be regular. I don't want to be regular.
Right.
And that's not that's no knock to middle class. There's no knock to
Mm-mm.
the people that's poor. There's a reason I don't want to be that, so that I can help those people get to that next level. Because a lot of
Yeah.
times, most people are
Absolutely.
helping them
Yeah.
get to the next level. So whoever I can help,
Yeah.
I'll try to help if they want my help.
Yeah.
Um, I get calls. I get calls often about real estate that I don't make money off of, but I still help them. I get them the
Mhm.
ideas and everything, and
Mhm.
whether that turn into something down the line, it doesn't matter. In
Mhm.
the end, I know that I've done the right thing, trying to help somebody out, and I'm gonna make mine. And I'm not gonna
Mhm.
use so much of my time to where I'm not silly with it. I'm not about to use all my
Mhm.
time to help somebody else, and I'm not getting anything out of it. But
Mhm.
to share a couple words with somebody for 10, 20 minutes don't necessarily hurt me a lot of times, because while I'm talking to them, trust me, I'm probably typing up something else or doing something else for them about whatever it is they ask me about.
I think that, just the things that you shared, in the last, few minutes, that's really valuable information, for folks. And again, um, I know that they're taking notes, because the sense that I get right now, just the vibe, in society, period, is people want to have their best life,
Yes.
post COVID, post everything that we've been through. If you have survived that, because a lot of people didn't. But thankfully, those of us, who weathered that storm and have come through, we want to live our best lives.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to take 1 minute for granted
No,
with the life that we have.
no. I know
We
I
go ahead.
I said I know I don't. Go ahead. I was
Right, 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 right. And so, like I said, for me, it is about, right now I know every week when we're ending the show, it's like, what are you working on? What are you doing? What's coming down the pipe? And really, all of my energy, time, resources are focused on living my best life. Um, whether that is making sure that I build in time for self, as you talked about that earlier about being, selfish. That's important. And I have made a conscious effort to be more selfish about how I spend my time, who I spend my time with, um, what I'm spending my money on. And so, that's important. And so, like I said, folks right now want to live their best life. Um, Folks have been focused on things that they were thinking about, dreaming about, wanting to do, actually jumping into that and making those things happen. People have left jobs that they kind of like, sort of like, hated, and now are doing things like traveling, bought a camper, traveling,
Yeah.
living in the camper,
Yeah.
divorces, you know, um, start new relationships, just different things, getting a pet, getting in touch with themselves, like you said, just meditation, a whole range of things.
Mm-hmm.
And what's happening in the world now still continues. I mean, this is some the things that are happening now, the rain in California, you know the rain that swamped Florida, flooded Florida,
Yeah.
Fires, storms, all of these things. Folks are afraid, and folks want to take full advantage. They don't want to lose anything, they're looking to gain things. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I said everything that you're saying is important, and definitely a value.
Yeah. I mean, I'm at a point. I probably, like I said, last 5-6 years, I've been at a point where I want to live my life in a way. When I die, I want to be empty. So I want to lose everything that's in me.
Yep.
I want to be empty.
On the way to that, yeah.
Yeah,
Got it.
so I mean, so I don't want to lose. I don't want to lose nothing of importance, to the sense that
Mhm.
I want to be able to do the things that I'm supposed to do. But
Mhm.
when I leave here, I don't want to.
Mhm.
I don't want to be on.
Empty but fulfilled.
Yes, I don't want to be on the deathbed talking about, I wish I would have did this.
Right. Or I wish I had gone here.
I wish I would have did that. I
Right.
want to be able to say I lived a full life. Um, you know, I want to be able to go and travel to the places I want to go travel to. Um, I want to be purposeful about that. I want to take my
Mhm.
kids to the places I want to take them,
Mhm.
in the places they want to go, and
Mhm.
I want to set them up so that when I do pass away, if I'm on my deathbed, I'm telling them, hey, I got this deal set up. Y'all got to get it done. That's that's
Right.
what I want to be doing. I want to, I need y'all to go get this deal done, because it's set up, and
Mhm.
it's gonna set the grandkids up.
Mhm.
That's that's where I want to
Yeah.
that's where I want to be at. I was just happened to be reading Proverbs, and I was just at I want to say chapter 13.
Mhm.
Verse 22 talks about a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children.
Mhm.
And so, I want to take it one step further. I want a children's children. So, I want to make sure that everybody's good, and that my name
Mhm.
lives on, because I look at it like this. My grandfather wasn't rich by any means necessary, you know what I'm saying? But
Mhm.
the things he did made him very successful to me.
Mhm.
And while my grandkids didn't get a chance to meet him, his name lives on, because I constantly bring him up. I constantly let them know about him.
Mhm.
My youngest son, his middle name is after him, Oliver. Um,
Mhm.
and I constantly try to tell them about the different things that he did,
Mhm.
because to me he was amazing. To
Mhm.
only have a third grade education, and,
Mhm.
and teach himself to read. And did he do everything right? No, he did some stuff, but to teach himself to read, go to war for this country, come back in one piece, and then
Mhm.
go to work for Ford Motor Company, bring pretty much his whole family up from the
Mhm.
South to Detroit, get
Mhm.
them jobs, help them get jobs, help them get set. I mean,
Mhm.
I can't, for me, that's a legacy that, to me, he set some things up for me, My mom still lives in the house that he built. And so he set things up for me, for my mom, for me, and shoot, my oldest son is staying in the house that he built. So just that's a legacy to me, and that's where I want to go there. But I want I want to make sure that I'm leaving. He left money too. Don't get me wrong. He did leave. He left his money. But I want to make sure that I leave them more than money. I want to leave them houses. I want to leave them property. I want them to have. I don't want them struggling to get the quote unquote American dream. I want them to have more than the white house, the white picket fence, and I want to have everything. I want to have a piece of the pie, and not a piece of the pie. I want them to have a whole pie, and I want them to eat it
with ice cream.
I don't.
Right.
A piece of the pie. I want you to have a whole pie, and I think I talk about that in the book. You talked
about, I think you mentioned like the whole pie or something like that.
The whole pie, and everybody got one.
Right.
You ain't got to worry about nobody else's pie.
Right.
God gave everybody their own pie.
Right.
You're supposed to be eating that thing.
Right. Yes.
We so busy giving. We so busy helping other people get more pies. They taking our pies and getting some, getting it to their family, and we're not building our own thing. Everybody got to have a job. Everybody got to work. Whether that's building your own thing, whether that's working for somebody. But even if you work for somebody, you got to start figuring out how to build something for yourself and something for your family. Because like I tell people all the time, I can't leave my kids the fire truck. I might be able to get them a job at the fire department, but I can't leave them the fire truck. But I can leave them a bunch of houses.
Right.
I can leave them a bunch of money. I can leave them a bunch of commodities.
I think that it's important too when we talk about, generational wealth, because that's basically, what you're talking about is, what your grandfather, left for you in addition to his legacy, that his legacy included, actual property and money that would help your mom and your family, and that you want to continue that legacy of leaving and providing generational wealth for your sons and their children and their children's children. But one of the things I want to talk about in there is, purpose, and making sure that we are also having that conversation about purpose, and for the generation that we are leaving this legacy for and this generational wealth for, that they understand, as you said, when you're laying on your deathbed, that you understand there's a mission connected to this, that you are also leaving to your children and to their children's children. We've talked about, how the Chinese have this, was it 100-year plan?
Yeah, 300.
300, year plan. And so again, I think it's important to talk about, connected to, mission and vision and purpose and values. And that we're having that conversation with our young people as well. What type of conversation are you having with your sons about that piece, about purpose and about, your vision? And
well, my two youngest, because they're young, 9 and 6. I'm sorry. 9 and 6. So 9 and 7. I'm sorry. Since they are 9 and 7, I try to hold on. Let me get that. Let me get it right in my head what I'm trying to say. So basically, I try to talk to them about self-esteem with those, because though they're young and they're about to go into those ages where you're trying to find yourself and stuff like that. And I don't ever want them to feel like they're less than because somebody say something. I don't want them to feel. I want them to be comfortable in their skin. So whatever it is that they like, that's what you like. I try to make sure I'm guiding them and leading them in the right direction in that way. As far as my oldest, I've had those conversations with him about self-esteem and knowing who you are and being happy with who you are. and working hard and things like that. So now my thing with him now is working with him is just grinding, staying on the grind, and that grind is not necessarily, you know, giving your all to a company or anything, but giving your all to grinding for you grinding to give your all and know that you get giving your all, and make sure that that's what you're doing. So, you know, when I would say to him different things like, you know, if you're looking for a job and you tell me you've done everything you can do, I ask you, well, did you go up and down this street and put in an application to everything that was willing to hire you, or that's looking for somebody to work, and you said you didn't do that, then I know you didn't do everything you could do. So for me, it's about trying to make sure that you're doing everything that you can do and you're exhausting every possibility so that you can get to the next level. So that's my main thing with him. I think he understands that. Like I always tell him, I'm like, it's nothing else. I've given you everything that I could give you as far as words can go, you know, as far as what I know. And I always tell him, like, anything I'm giving you now is because I'm learning it too. And so I'm never going, you know, like I told him, I was like, I may change some of the things I've given you in the past. I may, because I've learned something new that made me say, okay, what I told you before was wrong. Because I have the right to change that. Everybody, you're learning as you go along. That's what life is all about. So I'm very much on that. I was thinking about, you know, the Bible story of Isaac, Jacob, and Esau. And you know, it always strikes me, you know, when Isaac was dying and Jacob went in there with the fur on his arm and stuff and played like he was Esau. If you really pay attention to those verses, Isaac never gave Jacob anything. He just spoke to him. He told him what his legacy was going to be. He never gave him anything. And when Esau came and he realized that that he had got conned or he had got food or whatever, Esau said, there's nothing you can give me. And so if you really think about it, in the words were more powerful than anything, any of the money, any of the land that he owned, any of the cattle that he owned. The words that he spoke over Isaac, over Jacob, was more important, was more powerful than anything else that he could have gave him. Because when it was all said, Jacob ended up leaving, and he didn't get the stuff until later on. He had all the cattle and all the land and stuff, but he didn't have a blessing. And so, like I tell my son all the time, like, yeah, I'm gonna leave you. You're gonna have the money. You're gonna have all that stuff. I'm leaving you, and I'm leaving you and the other two boys everything. But the main thing is y'all take the lessons that I taught you, so you can live with those, because that's what's important, and that's what I always get out of that. You know, that scripture or those. It was the words that was more important than anything else.
I know we only got a few minutes left. I'm gonna ask this quick question. I know Shaquille O'Neal had come under criticism recently for making a decision where he cut his son off, or basically made a decision in which, you know, he was saying to his son, you know, it's my money, you know, my wealth, not yours. What is your thought, you know, when parents make that type of decision? Do you think that's a fair decision? Do you think that is, you know, based on whether or not your child is showing you the fruit of them, you know, being responsible with, you know, your legacy and you know, the things that you're talking about?
I think some of that stuff is just hype for TV too. I think what's his name? Steve Harvey said some crazy stuff, but I ain't leaving you them kids nothing. I'm we gonna spend this money and blah blah blah. The fact of the matter is, you can spend it if that's what you're gonna do, I mean, if you're gonna go out the world and spend all the millions of dollars that you made and not leave your kids nothing, then I can't see how you can tell me that you read the Bible, because that's not at all. Or forget the Bible. I just can't see how you can want your kids to struggle when you struggled. I wouldn't want my kids to go through that. Now I don't know what goes on in their houses to make them stuff like that. You may have a bunch of kids that's living in those houses and they are disrespectful and they're not grateful for what they have. I can understand that. I can understand not making them have hard lessons or whatever. I think the main thing though is that I don't believe it, because somewhere in my head I'm like, that's what trusts are for. Rich people, that's all they do is put stuff in trusts. So all those kids are gonna be trust babies. As long as they fulfill what is in the trust, they'll probably get that money. So I for me, that's what I would do. I would have I already have certain things set up to where the kids will get certain things if something was to happen to me in the next tomorrow. So that's pretty set up. But as I gain more property, as I do more things, and gain more money, that will be in trusts for them, and those trusts will be set up in a way to where they will have to hit certain landmarks to unlock certain amounts of money.
Like playing Super Mario Brothers.
You gotta
when you get to that level,
then you
get to punch the ceiling, get the fruit.
So you got to hit certain landmarks if you want this money that I worked hard for.
Got it.
Because I didn't work hard for you to mess it up. And my thing is this: if you set it up in the right way, if you set the trust up in such a way, you got money. So if you got money, you got lawyers, and they can set it up in a way that if they don't hit the landmark, it can go to the grandkids.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So you set it up in a way. There's a book that's called "What Would the Rockefellers Do?" And it talks about the Rockefellers using whole life insurance as a family bank, basically. But in order for you to get the money out of that bank and to use that money, you have to come to family meetings. When you use the money, you have to present to the family what it is you're going to use the money for, why you using the money for that, and how does that going to benefit the family before you even get a piece of that money. And then they vote on it together. Then if you get the money, you get the money. Now, if you mess it up or whatever, then you got to come back. If you start the business and the business don't go well or whatever, then you got to come back and explain the lessons that you learned. And stuff like that, if you want to stay in the running to get any more of that money. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, it's ways that things are set up so that you can keep wealth in your family. The Rockefeller, they always compare the Rockefellers and the Vanderbilts. There is not a Vanderbilt that's left that was a millionaire based off of. If they became millionaires, it's because they became millionaires on their own. They didn't keep the money. The Rockefellers, all of them are still millionaires.
Anderson Cooper is a Vanderbilt.
Yeah, but they wasn't millionaires. They had to remake that money because the family messed the money up as they went on. But the Rockefellers, they still that name is Vanderbilt, so that name is gonna go on. But they wasn't, Anderson Cooper's a millionaire now because he did
his mom,
his
Gloria,
mom did stuff, and then he did stuff. But they didn't start off that. Like, I'm not saying they was broke.
I know what you're saying.
No more, you know what I'm saying? They, they wasn't millionaires no more or whatever. So because they didn't have the money set up in a way to where it continuously go on and keep each generation making money. Yeah. So, and that's the thing. You just gotta. Those are things that you gotta learn. I think those. I always feel like black people like to start over. We like to recreate the wheel every generation. You know, when my son was talking about starting a company and stuff, I was like, why would you do that when it's already one started? I was like, why, what? I was like, unless you're trying to go off and branch off into something different, I get it. But you're doing the same thing. Why would you start a new company?
And what was his response?
And he was like, I didn't think of it that way.
Okay.
I said, and I just told him, I was like, we always trying to do something new when the wheel is already rolling, it's already made. We don't have to keep reinventing the wheel. You know what I'm saying? Just make the wheel better. just
don't wear yourself out.
Yeah,
you know, save that energy.
Yeah, it's just too much. So I told him, I was like, just it's all good. You don't have to keep doing it over and over again. And so and I think that's black people have that. We're not used to, especially in this, the way we are in this country, the way we were, going through slavery, going through Jim Crow, going through civil rights, going through drug era, going through the sentencing laws in the 90s, RICO charges, going through all the stuff that we've gone through that they have created to try to keep black people in a certain way. We always seem to start over.
Okay.
And even in starting over, we still do a damn good job. But I'd like to think that if we didn't have to start over every time, that if we just built on what was already there, and then we built on the next, and then we built on the next. I was looking at something where it was talking about Black Wall Street, and they were saying how they destroyed Black Wall Street, and the guy, it's an old historian. His name is Professor Small. Professor Small said, he was like, no, he was like, they didn't destroy Black Wall Street, because even after that happened, black people still built other things. People had money generating in their own communities after that. He said what killed Black Wall Street and what killed black people working together was integration. And us feeling like, it's better for us to be able to shop with white people than it is for us to shop with black people.
Well, there is so on that note, there is a new town in Georgia that is started by African Americans, and I think on a future show it would be good for us to talk about that.
Yeah, it is. It's a little mini houses. They like little small mini houses. And they bought all this land a while back. Just on another note, I mean, it's the same note, but another note, there, people don't know this. There are numbers of towns in America that are for sale. The whole damn town is for sale. Buildings are already there and everything. It's just all you got to do is buy the town and move people in. And I tell people this all the time, like those redlining laws and those laws, those steering laws and stuff that they did for real estate. It took me to watch a actual documentary on Black Wall Street for me to realize that those laws were not set up. People are trying to act like they set those laws up to help black people. Those laws wasn't set up to help black people. Those laws were set up because the guy that started Black Wall Street and owned all that land, he would not sell that land to anybody white. He only would sell the land to black people. And a lot of black people was that way, that owned a lot of land. They would only sell parcels of their land off to other black people. And so they started those laws so that black people couldn't do that. And once I watched that, I realized, like, oh, they didn't start this to help us. They started this to keep us from being able to do that. Because if I own hundreds of acres of land, and I can sell 10, 20 people 2 or 3 acres of that land. Yes, I'm making money, but I'm also giving them a piece, and a lot of times he was selling that land for less. He was selling that land for less than what the white people were offering him for the land. Because he just really wanted his people to do something.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, we can definitely talk about that. I still got to do some more research on the city that they have built, those mini homes that they have built.
Mm-hmm.
But I do know they had the land for a while, and I do know that they were they had the land. I want to say they got the land either during COVID or right before COVID.
And I think the homes that you're referring to, that's part of the plan, but that's not the whole plan.
No, that's not the whole plan, but that's where they started.
Right.
So you
Because
know,
actually,
I would have to do more
couples.
research on it because I have not done a lot of research on it. I don't know about it. But I think it's a good thing. I would like to see how they are going to keep that quote unquote totally black. I mean, that's what I would like to see because, like I said, you know, with certain laws, you can't legally. There's ways to do everything. There's loopholes and everything.
But it's interesting how that does not work the other way.
Yeah. So I would like to see how they would be able to keep it that way without causing a stir.
Right.
But if they can, that's cool. I mean, because at the end of the day, you know, as much as we try to act like we're integrated, this is a very segregated country. And many times, you know, you may have a few black people that live in a certain area, but if you go to those schools, you'll see mostly white. Those public schools, you'll see mostly white people in suburb schools, and then in inner city schools is mostly black people. Very rare that you see a lot of white people. So because of we are segregated in many ways. Still, we can just go shopping and spend our money with everybody. We just can't live everywhere. Not and be necessarily
right.
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 But that's why you make money. That's why you start businesses. That's why you do those things so that you can go.
Right.
Those people are doing buy your own land and you know, and figure out ways to you know, to build your own thing.
Right.
Yeah, because without that, you know, we you know, without money, it's hard to do anything. So
absolutely,
it's hard to do anything. It's hard to help anybody. It's hard to help yourself. You know, you gotta have income and a nice amount of income coming in so that you can do the things that you need to do. So on that note, what you got going on?
Oh my gosh. Just continue to work on, you know, current projects and you know, nailing down a start date, balancing, you know, my responsibilities as a mom.
Yes.
You know, I don't talk a lot about that on the show, but you know, being a mother of 4 adults, I think a lot of times people assume when your kids get to a certain age, you know, it's just cruise control. And, you know, I would tell folks, you know, if we ever talk about parenting, it's a transition. It's a different type of parenting. A lot of it, you know, I'm sure you have the same conversations with Michael. It's about, you know, guidance.
Yeah.
And, you know, so those are things that I'm, you know, in that season, you know, checking in with them, helping them, trying to make sure, you know, they're on the right path. But at the same time, like I said, carving out time for myself, the projects and things that I want to do in this season. So, you know, more to come on that.
Okay, cool. How they get in contact with you?
Oh my gosh. So if you want to reach me, definitely you can email me, Trayce Brooks, TrayceBrooks @gmail.com. I'm also on Instagram, TRAYCE_B. Facebook, Trayce Bell Brooks. So I'm here, I'm around. Don't hesitate to reach out. Love to hear from you. And any subjects, topics you want us to talk about, you know, drop me a line.
Definitely do that. Definitely. You can leave it in the comments under the show, or you can drop us a line. I will have my link in the description at the end when the show airs. My link will be in the description. If you're in the Atlanta area and you want to talk to me about any type of real estate, whether you're a home buyer, a seller, or a real estate investor, you can give me a call, 404-438-7113. And then, like I said, I'm going to drop my link, my profile link in the description. And that way you can get a contact. You can get a hold of everything else that I got. The Think Success book is there on Amazon. Gratitudes and Affirmation is on Amazon. And the Script My Life book is on Amazon. The Script My Life book is just a book where you can basically write down different things that you want to write down about how you want your life to go over the next 365 days of the year. So it's a page in there for every day. So it's a pretty thick book. But that book has been out for a while. I don't really talk about those books too much. You know how we get. Sometimes we forget about the old stuff that you've done. But yeah, the Gratitudes and Affirmations book, I think that's a book for about 3 to 6 months. And then my Script My Life book is a book for the whole year. And then you got the Think Success book, which is my thoughts on how to think success and how to get to the next level. The only other project I got going right now, I did start writing Wealthy Thoughts. I did start writing that. Got a long way to go with that. So, and then and the only other project I got going now, which is in the post-production process, is Michael and me and Michael's project that we are doing together, where he produced all the music. I did all the writing and all the recording. And so we're just in the post-production process of that. It's taking a little bit longer than we thought it was, because we were going to try to have it out earlier in the month. But it will probably be out before the end of the month. And so that's it. That's all I got going. Again, hit me up, 404-438-7113. And like I said, my links to all my other projects and all my other things that I got going on will be in the comments. Also, the only other thing I got is I do have another YouTube page. Yes, this is the Eomi Entertainment page, but I also have Randy Graham, REIREA page, where I give a lot of real estate tips on that page. So if you want to go over there and check that out, do that too. Got anything else, Tracy?
That's all.
All
Just
right.
start working on that line of, products. Like I said, I need a affirmation, gratitude and affirmation water bottle, t-shirt.
We you know what? When we offline, we're gonna talk about that. Let's see.
Okay.
Let's see. We might can do something, try to get something done together.
Yeah, I got some artists for you and everything.
Okay, then. All right, then. Hey, Wealthy Thoughts, episode 6. Thank you for showing up and showing out with us. And we'll see you next time. Peace.
Good night.
Yo, I'm legendary, secondary to none, I'm a visionary. My weapon ready with the mic in hand, MCs I vary. Elite beats, I'm a beast with rap sheets. Lyrical treats, I release my fans eat until they obese. Cease desist, Eomi consist of lyricists that exist to get on a mix and playlist. Equipped to make hits, piss off the establishment. The power of the black fist on all the shit I submit. Flip the script, I'm Forrest with Godfather. Why bother? There's no honor in fucking with a nigga a lot harder. You with a Godfather, fucking with somebody else not proper. Not a lyrical dropper like I, Black Mamba and MJ Fly. Y'all niggas annoying like a star, I'm just enjoying my high. And I don't even smoke, employing the sly style of ride. You can't deny, Keen, I don't comply with anything. My reply, y'all dying to hear, R-A-Y-K. This that black folk hood superheroes music.